You think you know Elon Musk, the innovator, the multi-billionaire who is colonizing Mars. But you are wrong. Before he was a visionary, he was a pariah. He didn't just build companies like Tesla and SpaceX. He faced bankruptcy, depression, and relentless public mockery. Let's talk about the man who was constantly told he was insane, so the future could be born. But pay close attention. By the end of this video, you will learn the one specific psychological weapon he used to defeat fear in his own life. But today, we are not here to talk about his money. We are here to talk about his mind. Because behind the memes, the rockets, and the electric cars is a brain that operates differently from 99.9% of the human race. Most people think Elon Musk is a gambler. They think he takes crazy risks. They are wrong. Elon Musk doesn't bet on luck, and he bets on physics. What was the core engineering-driven framework that allowed him to tackle industries ruled by corporate giants, from aerospace to automotive, and win? It wasn't just funding. It was a deeply systematic philosophy rooted in rationality. Today, we meticulously dissect the special moment he decided that first principles thinking was the only way to escape conventional limitations. We are going to uncover the existential imperative, a mental framework you can use to solve the impossible problems in your own life. To understand his ambition, we first have to understand his isolation. Elon Musk wasn't born a hero. He was born a loner. Born in 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa, his childhood was far from idyllic. He was the youngest, the smartest, and the smallest kid in the class. And in a rough environment, that made him a target. He was bullied relentlessly. Once he was thrown down a flight of concrete stairs and beaten so badly he was hospitalized. He learned early on that the world is not a safe place. To escape the pain of the real world, he retreated into the logic of books. He read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica at age 9. He absorbed science fiction. He taught himself to code. While other kids were playing rugby, Elon was building a fortress of logic in his mind. He realized that emotions are messy, but physics is true. In physics, you can't lie. Gravity doesn't care about your feelings. This background instilled in him a belief that complex problems, no matter how scary, could be broken down into raw data and solved. He escaped South Africa, moved to Canada, and then to the United States, the land of the future. In the 90s, he co-founded Zip2 and then X.com, which became PayPal. He proved he could build software. When eBay bought PayPal in 2002, Elon walked away with $180 million. Now, pause for a second. He was 31 years old. He had $180 million in cash. The logical, safe thing to do was to retire, buy an island, invest in safe stocks, sip cocktails for the rest of his life. But this brings us to the hardship, the descent into chaos. Elon didn't want safety. He wanted to save the world. He looked at the future and saw two existential threats. We are destroying our planet with fossil fuels. We are stuck on one planet, vulnerable to extinction. So he did the unthinkable. He took his entire fortune, all of it, and poured it into two startups, Tesla and SpaceX. People called him insane. They said, you can't start a car company. GM and Ford will crush you. They said, you can't start a rocket company. Only governments do that. And for a long time, the critics were right. The year 2008 was the year from hell. The global economy collapsed. Tesla was running out of money. The Roadster was a disaster. The media was writing his obituary. And SpaceX, it was worse. Musk had enough money for 3 rocket launches. The first launch exploded. The second launch exploded, but the third launch exploded. Imagine the psychological pressure. He had burned through his fortune. He was borrowing money from friends just to pay rent. He was going through a painful divorce. The press was laughing at him. He was standing in the wreckage of his dreams. He had one rocket left, one last chance. If this launch failed, SpaceX would die, Tesla would die, and he would go down in history as a failure. Logically, he should have quit. He should have saved the last few $1,000,000 and walked away. He stood at the edge of failure. So, what pulled him back? Let's witness the turning point where the gambler became the visionary. Musk utilized a mental tool from physics called first principles thinking. Most people reason by analogy. They say, we do it this way because it's always been done this way. Analogy says, rockets are expensive because Boeing says they cost $100 million. Analogy says electric cars are slow and ugly because golf carts are slow and ugly. Elon rejected analogy. He used first principles. He boiled things down to the fundamental truths. He looked at the rocket. He asked, what is a rocket made of? Answer, aerospace grade, aluminum, titanium, copper, and carbon fiber. Then he asked, what is the value of those materials on the commodity market? Answer, about 2% of the typical rocket price. He realized the problem wasn't physics. The problem was inefficiency. He realized that if he built the rockets himself from scratch, he could cut the cost by 10 times. He applied this same logic to his fear. He used the Existential Imperative framework. He asked himself, if I don't do this, what happens? If Tesla dies, the electric car revolution might be delayed by 20 years. The planet suffers. If SpaceX dies, humanity might never leave Earth. We stay vulnerable. He realized that the risk of doing nothing was greater than the risk of losing his money. He decided that some things are so important you should do them even if the probable outcome is failure. So he scraped together every last penny. He took the debris of the failed rockets and analyzed the data. He ignored the noise. He ignored the panic. He launched the fourth rocket, the Falcon 1. It cleared the tower. It reached orbit. It was the first privately developed liquid fuel rocket to reach Earth's orbit. Because of that success, NASA called. They gave him a $1.6 billion contract. SpaceX was saved. Around the same time, he poured the last of his money into Tesla on Christmas Eve, hours before the company would have gone bankrupt. He bet everything on his logic, and he won. Because he refused to accept the analogy of the industry, he created the reusable rocket, the Falcon 9, which lands itself. He did what Russia, China, and NASA said was impossible. Because he refused to accept that electric cars were boring, he built the Model S, the Model 3, and the Cybertruck. He proved that you don't have to follow the rules if the rules defy physics. So, what is the legacy of this framework? Elon Musk teaches us that impossible is just an opinion, not a fact. He famously said, starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. But he stares into the abyss with a smile because he has a map drawn by logic, physics, and first principles. So, what is the lesson for us? What can we learn from the real-life Iron Man? First, always use first principles. Stop reasoning by analogy. Stop saying, I can't do this because nobody else has. Break your problem down to its atomic level. Ask, what is actually true, and build up from there. Second, prioritize existential purpose. Find a mission so big that your personal ego doesn't matter anymore. When you are fighting for something bigger than yourself, like your family, your community, or humanity, you find energy you didn't know you had. And finally, question authority and convention. Just because the experts say it's impossible doesn't mean it is. Experts are often just people repeating what they were told. Be willing to look like a fool today to be a genius tomorrow. Elon Musk proves that the future belongs to those who build it, not those who wait for it. If this story inspired you to build your own future, hit that subscribe button. Join us as we decode the turning points of history's greatest legends, and tell us in the comments below, which legend story do you want to hear next? We read every comment. See you in the next story.